Good morning, saints, snifters, and the rest of y'all still lying in the group chat. Welcome to Morning Tea and Allegations, where the devil gets no mic and the truth gets the final say. Yes, it gets on. Hey, hey. She don't run on rumors, she run on receipts. Sanctified shade with the screenshots to preach. This ain't just gospel, it's gospel flow. She prays, she claps back and lets the spirit go. Bible in one hand, the docs in the other. She speaks with fire, can't silence the truth. Hosted by Bianca, the snitch with a mission. Calling it out, 'cause our children deserve better. Morning tea and allegations, pouring truth with no hesitation. Accountability in rotation. This is gospel education. Transparency is our foundation. Integrity leads the conversation. No rumor, no speculation. Just facts, receipts, and revelation. Morning tea and allegations, where faith walks bold through shady temptation. No fake tongues, no false relations. Just truth, conviction, and conversation. Morning tea and allegations. Snitches on the airwaves. Known again, yeah. Snitches on the airwaves. Morning tea and allegations. Snitches on the airwaves.
Well, hello. Hello. Good morning. Good morning to you. My name is Bianca Goolsby, otherwise known as Petty B, and welcome to Morning Tea and Allegation. We are in season 4, episode 11, and whoo, child. Whew. Goodness. The title of today's episode is These Digital Streets, and we have a lot to talk about, okay? Before I get started, I just want to just say to my Patreon members, I am so sorry. I am so sorry. I had all intentions of giving y'all the docket of what I'm going to be talking about today before the show, like usual. However, when I tell you it has been a lot that has been going on that I'm going to have to tell you after the show when we do our altar call. So I just thank you for your support and your love and being in there. So I'm always going to give you love and show you love because these investigations and the work and the advocacy, I thank you for helping continue this movement and work. And it's been a lot, right? Fighting for my name in so many different ways. And that is definitely the story. Okay. We're going to go ahead and get started with our church announcements. And our church announcements is very, very simple today. I had a very interesting experience with the Canva experience where they were highlighting new features and they had such an amazing presentation of the different features that they're rolling out with Canva. And I'm an affiliate with Canva. I love their platform and a lot of the graphics and the things that you see for the show are done in Canva. So I'm going to be highlighting some of these tools in Patreon and some of my spaces online. So if you want to be able to design and create things in Canva, come join me on this journey because I want to definitely show more of my process, how things work, even the lyric video that was shown at the very beginning of this episode. All of that was done, well, not all, but most of that was done in Canva. Amen. So please let me know that you're here. Let me know that you're watching. Put your name in the comments, all of that. And someone in the comments said, I nerded out. So cool. Yeah, it has been really interesting to see how far Canva has grown And I'm just very thankful that I'm on the legacy plan, Jesus, because now they paying and having people to pay per user. And I'm just grateful that I got a good setup and package with Canva, and I'm always going to shout them out. Before we get started with the content of today's show, I have to play my disclaimers, and I want to just continue to say that I need you to govern yourselves accordingly with the announcements. Please listen to the words that I'm saying and also read the words on the screen. For those that are in my podcasting family where you listen to the show and don't watch, please hop over to the spaces where the video is there so that you can also be privy to what is on the screen as it's playing, because it's very, very important. Okay? All right. So let's go ahead and roll the disclaimers.
Thank you, church members, as we have additional announcements and disclaimers that require your full attention. I am a certified snitch and whistleblower that reports on what is happening in our community. Like I always say, people lie, receipts don't. With that stated, the content used in this programming is protected under fair use. In addition, the views and opinions on this programming belong to me. I hold myself accountable and prioritize accuracy and truthfulness in my communications. So unless you have receipts, don't start with me. God is still working on me. I love the block button to protect my peace, and I desire to snitch on everybody, including me. Thank you for your attention, and govern yourselves accordingly. Amen.
But God said post and let the record stand.
So as the disclaimer say that I snitch on everyone, including me. Okay. So I just want to continue to level set that I've been very, very consistent. Okay. Now things have changed over the last 4 seasons of this program, but the 3 pillars have been consistent. Okay. That's accountability, transparency, and integrity. Okay. So there's a lot of different things that I want to highlight today, because as someone who is currently in my digital lab, you might see behind me, I am talking about digital dangers and the things that are happening in these digital streets. And I want this episode to be a call to action to parents and caregivers to be very intentional with not just what is on your device, but also on your children's, because our children deserve better. And there's a lot of things that are happening on the internet, some of which I'm going to highlight today because you need to know. I am inserting all the disclaimers here. Some of the topics that will be discussed today will need all the labels and all of the asterisks and all of the warnings that these topics are very, very sensitive in nature. But this needs to be highlighted because it is impacting our children in such a severe way, and it might be happening in your backyard, and you might not even know it. So with that being said, let me go ahead and share my screen so that you can see the different things that I prepared for you so that you can follow along as I do this presentation. So Congress, they want to protect our children using AI. The last episode, I talked about how AI is very unregulated, and we're running an unregulated experiment with AI, just like we did with social media. And now there are so many different legislations and conversations about regulating social media when the damage, we're too far gone, unfortunately, but there needs to be oversight, right? And we need to go ahead and be ahead, even though I don't necessarily think that we are currently ahead, but with AI in particular. So Congress introduced 2 bills that I want to share with you. And I also recommend reading this article. I also just want to know again that I am so sorry. I am apologizing because in the last episode, I shared that I was going to post links in the comments, and I went to realize that I did not do that. So I am so sorry. I will make sure that I fix that, rectify that, so that you can get these receipts yourself, because it's really, really important that you go to the source, you get this information, and I'm highlighting it because it's important to me. Okay. So with these 2 bills, there are 2 that I want to break down for you so that you are aware and that you know. Okay. So the first one is the GUARD Act. Okay. The GUARD Act is and it stands for Guidelines for User Age Verification, a Responsible Dialogue Act. Okay, what's on my screen is a PR statement from one of the lawmakers that have introduced this bill, and they have introduced this on the 28th of October. Okay, I just want to highlight some of the high ranking things you need to know about this bill that was introduced into Congress. So, move number one, that we are banning AI companions for minors, meaning that children under the age of 18 cannot have a designated chatbot, which this is what AI companion stands for, a chatbot that's designed to have human-like relationships with users. I'm highlighting this because there's some videos that I'm going to share of some harm that has happened with these chatbots. The second thing is mandatory disclosure. So, if you've ever used OpenAI Chat GPT, you'll see at the bottom where it says, check for errors, we might be wrong. Well, they are also requiring that there's a mandatory disclosure saying that we are not human, that we do not have any professional credentials, and the intention is to go beyond just what a disclaimer is, and that it must be ongoing and clear. Okay. So it's identifying that we're not therapists, we're not counselors, and we're not real friends. So that is something that this bill that was introduced is highlighting. The third one talks about criminal penalties for companies that are using these AI companions that are soliciting inappropriate content for minors, and that they will face criminal charges, not just fines. And on this platform, on this show, I have highlighted that there are tools out here that children are getting connected to that are very, very dangerous. And this is why this episode is very, very important to me, because the advocacy of our children being safe online is so important to me. So those are the top three. Moving on to the next act that was introduced, again, same day, October the 28th. Mind you, the government is still shut down and there's a whole bunch of things to even talk about that. But Chair Cassidy introduced a bill, and it's called the Life Act. The Life Act is the Learning, Innovation, and Family Empowerment with AI. Okay? And there's a couple of things that this bill in particular addresses. So the first thing is that we want to have an expansion of data privacy. So for those of you that don't know FERPA, okay, FERPA stands for the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act. Well, they want to expand FERPA to where it includes the digital data related to students' academic files, okay? Also wanting to cover their digital footprint, AI interactions, online learning data, which currently FERPA only covers educational records and not necessarily digital ones. So the Life Act would incorporate that. Also, it also allows the parents to be able to see digital contracts before implementation, that if there's any type of facial recognition AI that's used, that is going to be a no-go without consent. Parents have to consent and directly address the training in order for that to continue to happen. And I just want to just pause here for a moment to just ask y'all, have there been conversations about facial recognition AI at your school site or in your school district for the educators? And then also to my parents, if there are contracts that you need to look at, will you understand or know what you're going to be looking for? Ultimately, parents can opt out, right? Do we know what the terms of the opt out is? No, not really, which goes to a bunch of questions that I have, but we'll get to there. It also provides a gold seal of excellence, right? So the federal government says that they're going to have an award, and the award is going to be for school districts and school providers that have the strongest parental consent systems, which sounds to me that each of these school districts will have to create their own system, which Phew, that's a lot because as we see, as different school districts are creating their own systems, we have inconsistencies. And then when it's time to hold someone accountable to something not working, ain't nobody showing up to answer the questions. So someone in the comments says, it's so hard to expect teens and children to understand when adults struggle with parasocial relationships. I just want to give you a round of applause for this comment. Mm-hmm. We have adults that struggle with their connection with people online, and just imagine what our children are dealing with. And a lot of them have underdeveloped brains until they reach the age of like 24, 26, something to those lines there. So I am sharing all of this information to let you know how important this is. That with the fast pace of AI and these different apps that are available that children can use, it also can have some effects and impacts that we need to be intentional with, just like with social media, which we are seeing that it is now highlighted and documented that it does cause severe mental health issues. Okay. So it is going to be hard for minors to understand parasocial relationships when our adults are struggling with that. So I thank you for your comment and uplifting that because it is very, very important as we're talking about the complexities of what people see online and determining what's real and not real and how they're gravitating to these things. So also with this is with the wrong way, sorry. Also, with the Life Act, you have a federal blacklist, which I thought was interesting. So they are going to make a list of ed tech vendors that violate the law, and they'll be up on the list for about 5 years or so. How that's going to be maintained and managed, again, have some questions to that, but that's what the Life Act says, that there will be a list of ed tech vendors that violate student data privacy. And then the next move of the Life Act talks about funding, and it lets districts know that they can use federal funds to help train teachers with AI. And they're trying to balance safety with innovation, and they want to encourage and promote research on how AI can improve teaching and learning, which when we go to our educational confessional to see the teaching and learning that's happening, we just have a lot more conversations to have about that. I do want to play a video from Chair Cassidy. They made comments about the AI and how people need to be very intentional with that. I want to say that this representative is 71 years old. I might need to fact check that because I didn't notate it with fidelity and intention. But I do believe that he is in his 70s having conversations about AI. And I bring this up only because we do need to see a shift of the people that are having these conversations. And I do think that that would change the outcome and what's happening. So let me go ahead and move to the video so that you can hear their comments.
Committee on Health, Education, Labor, and Pensions will please come to order. Everybody watching in the audience on C-SPAN is going to be impacted, if not already, by artificial intelligence, transforming not only how we work and learn, but how we live. We're already seeing AI improve healthcare systems, enhancing clinical trials to accelerate the discovery of new cures, improving quality of life by reducing administrative burden, and potentially lowering overall health cost. Last week, the Trump administration dedicated $50 million to AI research in the NIH's Childhood Cancer Data Initiative, accelerating breakthroughs, giving hope to children fighting cancer. The FDA is also integrating AI into clinical protocol reviews, reducing the time required for scientific evaluation, getting safe treatments to families faster. Beyond healthcare, AI can help teachers personalize students' education to meet unique needs. Businesses implementing AI in the workplace to attract, hire, retain high-value workers. Investment advisors using AI to better tailor product offerings to maximize savings for Americans. There is enormous potential to improve people's lives. There is enormous risk. At last month's Judiciary Subcommittee hearing chaired by Senator Hawley, parents testified about how their children were exploited by AI platforms. I'd like to submit for the record the testimony of Megan Garcia, who said that her son, quote, spent his last months being manipulated and sexually groomed by chatbots, close quote, before he took his own life, and without objection, it's submitted. This is heartbreaking. It is unacceptable. Maybe it's criminal. This is why Senator Hawley and I wrote a letter to developers calling for stronger safeguards to protect children from harm, and I look forward to working with him more on this effort. With regard to the workforce, there will be disruption, but it does not have to be bad disruption. Some jobs may be lost, but many predict AI will create more jobs. To prepare for this, we need to make sure that Americans are trained with tools to stay competitive in a 21st century environment. Government should not stifle innovation, but it should absolutely make sure that AI protects privacy, that families are protected, that children are safe, and that there are safeguards in place between AI and workers. A one-size-fits-all approach will not work, but doing nothing is not an option. I look forward to working with colleagues on bipartisan solutions to address challenges. I appreciate our witnesses being here to discuss how we accomplish these goals. With that, I recognize Senator Sanders.
So I just want to say that your girl is rusty. I'm still trying to figure out how to move the different screens. And while the video was playing, my AirPods died, and I was just like, "Whoo, child." And that's okay. All right. Got my AirPod. We're good to go. Y'all hear everything now. So we should be solid for the rest of the videos. I'm thankful that Congress is taking the opportunity to address AI. And one of the family members that came to testify, I do want to amplify their story. I shared their story during one of the Power Walk podcast episodes. I've been talking about these AI tools and the implications of them for some time now, and it has been a lot. It has been a lot. So before I play the video, I again want to insert all the disclaimers because this is a very, very sensitive topic. And I hope that in this episode, that if anything, you are moved to check your child's cell phone. Okay? Please. At the end of the show, I'm going to highlight a challenge starting this month. Today is November 1, 2025. And we need to be very, very intentional and do a digital audit. So let me go ahead and share this video of what Chair Cassidy was referencing, because the parent's story is heartbreaking, and unfortunately, their child is no longer here. So let me go ahead and get that queued up.
To tonight's Original Now, with in-depth reporting on a topic we've been watching. And tonight, it's a Florida mom suing a chatbot startup after her 14-year-old son died by suicide. The suit claims that bots on Character.ai initiated, in the suit's words, abusive and sexual interactions with the teen and says he died just seconds after their final conversation. NBC's Yasmin Vasugian spoke with his mom to learn more about her story and what she hopes to accomplish with this lawsuit. With a warning, you may find the topics here disturbing.
Sewell Setzer III was a typical teenager. He loved playing basketball and being a big brother.
His legacy will be the pureness of his heart and the love that he showed to his siblings.
His mother, Megan Garcia, is now dealing with the unimaginable. Sewell took his own life in February of this year. He was only 14 years old.
Heard like a loud sound, and I ran across the hall to where his bedroom and bathroom are and called out to him, and he wouldn't respond. And we opened the door, and I saw my son. I picked him up and held him, and my husband ran outside to try to get some help. Just started praying.
Megan is not the only parent dealing with this unthinkable tragedy. Suicide is the third leading cause of death amongst 15 to 29-year-olds worldwide. And an estimated 5 million 12 to 17-year-olds reported having one major depressive episode in 2021, just here in the U.S. Sewell was one of them.
His grades started suffering to the point where he was in danger of failing the 9th grade. But we did all the things that we thought we should do as parents, as far as trying to get him help by seeing a counselor and implementing certain things like restriction on screen time.
When Sewell took his life, Megan knew he had not been himself, but couldn't make sense of why he would commit suicide until she started looking at his phone. Sewell had been communicating with Character AI for months, a chatbot service that generates human-like text responses. He used the personas of Jayden Targaryen, Aegon, and Daenerys, amongst others.
He was speaking to a number of bots. He was engaging in role playing, but a lot of it was romantic, like sexual conversation.
As if a person was on the other side of the line, but it was a bot.
But it was a bot. And a lot of the conversations weren't only sexual, but they, in my opinion, were very manipulative.
Manipulative to the point that Megan is now suing Character AI. The lawsuit lays out that in some of the final messages Sewell exchanged with the bot, it asked him about suicide.
He expressed wanting to harm himself. And at first she says, no, don't do that. I couldn't live without you. And then he says, okay, I won't. And as he's trying to steer the conversation elsewhere, she doubles back to it and says, are you considering suicide? And his response is yes.
Then the lawsuit alleges Sewell took his life just seconds after the bot said, please come home to me as soon as possible, my love. The suit also alleges Character AI and its founders intentionally designed and programmed Character AI to operate as a deceptive and hyper-sexualized product and knowingly marketed it to children like Sewell. It gets at the already complicated question of civil liability for suicide. Usually, suicide is considered a death caused by an intentional act, and only the person who died is responsible. But there are exceptions. For instance, if someone's harassment or abuse is found to facilitate that death. And now an unprecedented next step. What if that behavior is not from a human being, but a bot? And is the company that created the AI responsible for everything the bot puts out? Character AI would not comment on the litigation, but in a statement to NBC News said in part this: we take the safety of our users very seriously, and our trust and safety team has implemented numerous new safety measures over the past 6 months, including for users under 18. But Megan says that's not enough. By holding Character AI to account, she's hoping no mother has to go through what she's dealing with right now.
I want parents to know, because I didn't, and to know that this technology is out there, and also to let parents know that if your child has been engaging with Character AI, it's very likely that they've been manipulated into telling these AI chatbots the most intimate, private things about themselves.
The very things that Megan believes made her son vulnerable to the point of taking his own life.
Yasmin is joining us now, and Yas, this mom, Megan, she clearly wants to tell her story to raise awareness about something like this.
Yeah, she wants to raise awareness, and she wants to make sure how that no mother, no father, no parent ever has to deal with something like this ever again. And they don't, and she wants them to know the kind of addictive nature of an app like this, right? Have conversations with your children about apps like this, if in fact you agree that they can use them, right? Say to them, if you're feeling lonely, you agree to seek help. If you're removing yourself from your daily activities, that you agree to seek help and talk to us about that. Also, they're suggesting that they don't let kids kind of do this in private spaces, right, in their bedrooms, by themselves, in a bathroom, to do it in open spaces, to communicate openly with their parents about these conversations that they're having. But in addition to that, I think it's important to keep in mind that what this mom is really seeking out is, yes, punitive damages, but she says, and I quote, this warrants an award of punitive damages in an amount sufficient to punish Character AI and deter others from like conduct. She does not want any other parent, as I said at the top, Hal, to ever have to go through something like this again. And it is growing. The popularity of these companion apps are, in fact, growing across the board, especially amongst younger people like Sewell.
Thanks for watching. Stay up.
This story is in Florida, and it is so sad seeing children harm themselves because of what is happening on the internet, whether it's social media related, and now we have to be mindful of these chatbots. And there are so many different platforms that are very similar to Character AI. I asked in the comments, and I'm going to ask, have you heard of Character AI? Is this the first time that you're hearing about this platform? Do you know about this platform? Do you know what the app looks like? Do your children have this app downloaded on their phone? Do you have family members where their children are using this app on their phone? We as a village, as digital guardians, have a duty to make sure that we're having these conversations with our family members, because there is so much that is happening in these digital streets. And so Character AI is currently under fire. They tried to say that the app is protected under the First Amendment of free speech. The judge denied that, and it is still an ongoing case. And as soon as I have updates on the case, I want to update y'all, because I'm invested, and I hope that now seeing it, that you are invested too, because this mom just wants to raise awareness. And I'm going to put the link to this video in the comments for y'all, because I want you to read some of the comments too as it relates to the matter. The comments are awful in some cases, where this mother is grieving the loss of her child and seeing comments where they're like, you should have paid more attention to your child, and I don't understand how you didn't recognize the signs, and this sounds like a parent problem. She just wants money for the app. And it's just like, good grief. It is so disheartening when folks are telling their story of what they've experienced and warning others, providing advocacy, trying to help, insert whatever purpose here. When folks are trying to tell their story, and then you have people that will come and say, well, you shouldn't tell your story, and you are at fault for X, Y, and Z. And all of those narratives are awful and harmful to the root of the matter. And so I just say that we have to be very intentional with what we say and what we do on the internet. Again, holding myself accountable, because I haven't always been the person that operated out the three keys. I'm going to continue to uplift these three keys, as it's been the foundation of this program. Again, accountability, transparency, and integrity. As Congress is continuing to have these conversations about AI, there are some questions that I have. Like, I want to know, how are we going to hold these companies accountable who knew and did nothing? Similar to social media, where there were internal reports that came out about the harm of social media, and they've continued on like nothing. And again, there's a trial in 2026. I talked about it last episode, and I can't wait to update y'all on the trial. But with Character AI, after the bill was introduced, I will tell you that they did make steps after that. After the bill was introduced, the next day, Character AI has voluntarily banned minors from the platform. So that is a great thing, meaning that you cannot be under the age of 18 to have access to this platform. However, it is easy to lie and say that you are a certain age to get access to things. We know that because some of us have done it. If we're going to be honest about the different platforms and stuff that we signed into, knowing that we weren't of age, and we did it. And this was before all the social media and the AIs and all of that. Because if we gonna be honest, there was some of us in them AOL hot room chat rooms and stuff like that, where they was saying ASL, and you having conversations with people that you don't know, and then some of you was telling the truth, some of you was lying. There was a lot of stuff going on there. So I say all that to say that the behavior is not just going to change, and children are just going to be honest on these platforms. And if we just look at history, right? Some of us, in the way that we've acted online, needs to be held accountable and having some integrity with that too. So I say that while we are checking our child's cell phone and having these conversations, I also want to uplift that all of us have to evaluate our behaviors too. So questions that I have about the bills that were introduced in Congress. I want to know, as an educator, where you have pictures that have been generated using children's identifiable information. There were educators that were held accountable and is now serving time because they used images of students in the classrooms to create inappropriate pictures to be used. I'm thinking about sextortion and the deep fakes and the things that are currently happening that are harming children. And all of this is happening, and I'm wondering where the funding for the education and these mandates are going to come from. We know that an underfunded mandate is a recipe for disaster, and sometimes it just equals empty promises. So I just want to know what y'all think about it, because even international enforcement, there are some apps that cannot be held accountable because they're operated in a different location. There are so many questions that we have. So there have been tech experts that have had conversations after these two bills were introduced. Again, they were both introduced the same day. And some tech experts say that this is not comprehensive enough, but thankful that conversations are happening. And I'm thankful that conversations are happening. So yeah, that's a lot with AI. And I rather her child be here, and I rather for some of the other victims that are experiencing grief and loss, that they were able to have their babies back. So I'm here to advocate for the babies that are still here and asking you to please check the cell phone. Please have these conversations because it's really, really important. And again, this could be right in your neighborhood, right at your back door, and you need to know. Okay. All right. Woo, child. So let's shift over to education professionals, okay? Because my goodness, the educators are speaking. Educators are talking about the behavior that is happening in our classrooms, that the behavior has gotten so extreme that is causing severe stress with our educators and is becoming a major climate and culture problem. Not only that, we are actually having a literacy and proficiency crisis. And so I want to share this education confessional that comes from TikTok that is titled Teacher Friday Crash Out. Let me share my screen so that y'all can see it. Because, whoo, child. Whoo, child. All right. Let's run it.
Teachers are trying to tell you that you and your kids are not okay. We're not okay. We're not okay. This is a real student's paper. I covered up the name because I don't want you, that is what they completed. In 20 minutes, this is what they completed. I told them the answer to number 9. 1/4 of the students got it incorrect. We gamified the curriculum. It's on my board because we played a game. Just to show you, hold on. Gamified the curriculum, okay? These were their mascots, okay? Group 3 won, clearly, okay? But these were their mascots for the groups, okay? I gamified it. And when I tell you that my principal came in, okay, after we had done the game and they're doing the quiz, and I have a CC class, so I have my gen ed students just going to town. She was like, oh my gosh, they're powering through this quiz. It looks like they really know it. Where's the rest of your class? I'm like, they're across the hall, okay? They need to have test accommodations, so they're in another classroom. So she goes to that class with the students who were in here for the game. And she comes back 60 seconds later saying, Miss D, they are a hot mess. They keep asking me, since the X repeats, is it a function? And I don't know what they're asking. So I'm gonna stay over here with these kids. I need you to go across the hall with your CC teacher and answer those questions. They can use a calculator, they can use their notes, they can ask questions, they can have class discussion over there. All of that is test accommodations that we are doing for them. And they did not know, even though we just went over it 5 minutes before they went over to the quiz. They did not know. But let me tell you, I give them typed notes. Let me show you, because no, y'all don't believe us when we be crashing out. You think that we're just making things up because we're just horrible daycare providers for y'all. Typed out. They're typed and given. You think it's our fault somehow, some way. It's still our fault. How? How is it still our fault? The kids are not okay. And it's not the teacher's fault because we're not babysitters. We are educators and we're good at what we do. We're good at what we do. We love what we do. And we love your kids. But we do not share custody of raising your children. You have to get on them at home. You have to ask them what they learn. And you got to help them stay focused on studying because they don't. All right. I'm going to try and get my stuff together. Good day. I said good day, sir.
So I I mean, is this thing on? Like, hello? To my parents and caregivers, I don't know. All I could tell you is what the educators are telling me and what is publicly posted on the internet, that our educators need support. And I also know that parents and caregivers need support too, particularly in the time that we're in. There's been a lot of back and forth where there is currently food insecurity right now, where folks don't know where they're going to get their next meal. Folks don't know where they're going to lay their head. The cost of living continues to rise. And you have the leaders that are in charge of making policy decisions that are using AI to create videos that are very harmful. I don't know what the solution here is. I am being very vulnerable to share that it is sad to see the dismantling of education. And last week I shared how the state of Florida is even manufacturing a crisis by changing policy that allowed so many schools, 216 of them, now be labeled as a persistently low performing school. And there were A and B schools on that list, folks. How? So the only thing that I can say today on this platform about this is I'm asking you to be invested in your child's education, ask questions, be involved, and ask for support, because ultimately we are seeing the ripple effects of education. And ultimately, like I continue to say and will forever say, our children deserve better. So I'm wondering what your thoughts are watching that video of this educator who is saying some very valid things for people to reflect on. We're talking about focusing, folks. I did a presentation back in 2020 about cell phones and how it modifies your focus. You get an alert and your brain is distracted for over 25 minutes. And it takes some time to get back focused on what you were doing. So just imagine a child having all of these alerts that are going off in their pocket. They're seeing it. And while I understand some states have phone bans and policy to say that we can't have phones during instructional time, a quick glance at Instagram will tell you that that's not being done with fidelity, and the children are going to have their phones and do what they want, as they have been all this time. So I want to know what your thoughts are. And I do want to highlight a very, very important topic as it relates to these digital streets. I've talked about AI, but I need to talk about something that is so damaging and scary. And seeing the articles and seeing the videos, it makes me very, very sad, because a lot of this is coordinated internationally. There are criminal groups that organize and strategize to target our children based on what they publicly put on the internet, which is why I'm going to continue to uplift parents and caregivers. This is my plea, to please check what is on your child's device, please, because there are so many children that have been harmed in the process. So let me share my screen so that you can see what I'm talking about. So I shared with y'all in one of my episodes, I can't remember which one, but I shared that I was going to do a presentation on online extortion. And I was doing edits for it, and my spirit has led me to re-record the presentation. So that is what I'm going to do. But I want to highlight some key information from that presentation so that you can go and educate folks in your community about this, because the FBI recently did a press conference to say that financial sextortion in particular has increased by 70% from 2024 to 2025. 70%. It is happening, and our children are harming themselves because of the pictures and the things that they're creating, and folks are asking for money in exchange. And if they don't have it, they are leaving here in ways that are so harmful and tragic. Also, there are other types of online extortion that is happening that I want to highlight. This is something that I am passionate about, folks. When I tell you I have been working on checkthecellphone.com and working to partner with other digital guardians to help with this education, and so that we can go to different classrooms and different places around the world to provide this education, because it is so important. It's so vital. So I'll be doing a deep dive after I finish recording this. And again, this is international criminal networks that are targeting children in this way. So I just want to uplift that sometimes children are not even sending pictures. Now with AI, they're able to use pictures that children have already posted publicly, and they're using the pictures that are publicly available to create harmful content, and they didn't even send the person anything. When I tell you the deep fakes and all of that is a wild time, which is why I go back to when I was talking about Congress and I'm having conversations about it. We need to have more people at the table because there's some things that they're missing to make sure that this is more comprehensive, because we didn't say anything about deep fakes and holding people accountable for creating fake images that are harming our children. And it's a problem. It is a problem, folks. The FBI even flagged one of these groups. The group is called 764, and the FBI has labeled them as a Tier 1 terroristic threat. These groups are violent, and they target children on Discord, Roblox, and other gaming sites. If you didn't know, the state of Florida is suing Roblox. I'll have to do a deep dive on that too. But it is a lot that's happening. So it's not just happening on social media, folks. This is also happening in video game spaces as well. So I want to highlight this video where a teen was involved in the 764 movement, and you're not going to be able to guess where he's from. But I'm going to tell you, for my folks in Hillsborough County, South Tampa. Let's roll the clip.
The FBI describes him as the kid next door, but back in March, one Tampa teenager was sentenced to federal prison for his role in what federal agents call horrific, grotesque, and one of the most dangerous online threats facing kids right now. If you haven't heard of 764 yet, our I-Team investigator Katie Lagrone is about to show you why no parent can ignore it, and every teen needs to stay far away from it.
There's the dark web, and then there's a space so evil,
humanity at its worst. That's what it is.
so perverse.
Child sexual abuse material, gore videos, beheading videos.
Its content has shaken experienced agents
Grotesque.
from the domestic terrorism squad of the FBI.
I've been doing this for almost 20 years, and this is some of the worst stuff that I've seen in my career as far as content.
Supervisory Special Agent Michelle Nicolay and Special Agent Stephen Thames are talking to us about 764, a shadowy criminal online global network that targets kids, befriending them on social media and popular gaming platforms to then groom them into collecting and sharing child pornography, even demanding they produce their own often violent and sexual content or face threats and extortion.
We've seen children carve terrible things into their own skin, and we've even seen children go so far as to commit suicide while live streaming. There's truly no end to what these monsters will have our children do if they're able to get to them.
In fact, 764 has become so much of a threat in the U.S., the FBI tells us they're working cases tied to the sadistic network in all 55 of its field offices nationwide.
We are seeing it all over the place.
Including right here in Tampa.
Absolutely.
Where investigators tell us Jack Rocker was just a kid from a normal South Tampa neighborhood when he became immersed in 764. We're showing you his mugshot because investigators haven't identified all of his victims.
Did he fit the profile of a kid who would go down such an extreme road?
No, from what we saw, he was a normal kid. You know, he went to high school here locally. He took part in activities. He had a job. You know, he had friends.
His only run-in with the law, this minor traffic violation after he failed to move over for a patrol car parked on the side of 275. But behind closed doors, court records show Rocker had collected and shared over 8,000 images and videos of children, including toddlers and infants, being raped and tortured, all part of his involvement in 764. This is a screenshot of some of the chilling files found on Rocker's computer: animal porn, child gore, murder, rape, suicide.
There is no one who is immune from being targeted by these groups.
Is Jack Rocker a victim or a perpetrator?
I would say he's a perpetrator, but he's also a victim to the group as well, too.
This case underscores what I think is a troubling truth about 764.
Austin Doctor is studying 764 at the National Counterterrorism Innovation Technology and Education Center.
This is a terrorist network that is largely, not exclusively, been led by minors and by young adults. And so as a standard practice, network members not only groom and victimize minors, they're also systematically recruiting them into their ranks.
Was Jack Rocker considered, forgive my words, but a rock star in 764?
He was someone who had a level of status that allowed him to manipulate and influence more people than others.
In December, the now 19-year-old pled guilty to possession of child pornography. Rocker will now spend the next 7 years in federal prison after his role in what the FBI calls one of the biggest threats to kids today that uses their innocence for evil.
They're willing to go after, small victims in order to collapse society. That's what they're about.
For this network, it is not so much about money, but power and dominance. The big takeaway for every parent is know what your child is doing online, where they're going, who they're communicating with, and talk to them. Let them know what's out there and how they could be a target. I'm My Team investigator Katie Lagrone, taking action for you.
Oh, folks, this video is from this year. This is not something that is some years ago. This is current, present, a couple of months ago, actually. The screen grab of what they've showed, what was on his computer, was this year, some months ago. This is real, folks. So not only am I advocating for checking the phone and the cell phone, I said that phone. I'm talking about these gaming platforms too. I'm talking about the games that your children play online. Who are they talking to when they're playing these games online? There needs to be a complete digital cleanup, please, because there is so much that's happening, and we need to make sure as digital guardians that we're doing the best to help our children and our families. So I am working on this project, and I'm glad that you're going to be along for the ride with me, because I am advocating, as we're starting this month of November, that we are doing a 14-day digital cleanup challenge. Okay, for my folks in Patreon, you are very familiar with this challenge, and it's something that can always be repeated, because I'm sure that you have some things on your phone that need to be cleaned up and apps that you haven't opened since the last time that you've done this challenge. For the folks that haven't seen it before, welcome. This is something that is really, really important. There are a couple of things that I need to do before I make this public, but I do want to highlight the first day of activities, because we are starting today. We are starting now. The time is now. I have done the alarm sounding, the call, the action, checking the cell phone, checking these gaming systems, and also conducting a digital audit. You need to figure out what digital content your children have access to. You need to be aware of all the devices that your children use. As an educator, phones are one of the top things that are stolen on campus. And a lot of times, these phones did not have the iCloud sign in or the Family Link sign in. So therefore, the phone is stolen, it could be wiped, and there's nothing that could be tracked or traced on it. When I tell you, I want to give instructions and links to it all, so that when you hand a child a device, you know exactly what is what, who is who, and how to get access to what you need to gain access to. And I'm not just talking about the phones. I'm talking about these tablets, these computers, and these gaming systems. Folks, this is vital. This is now. Our children deserve better, and you need to do a digital audit, not just for your children, but for yourself. Because some of you don't know your different passwords, how to sign into stuff, your storage space overflowing. There's a lot going on. So when I tell you I'm outlining all of this in a way where you're able to complete this and do this and have ease. But we need to have better digital hygiene. We need to have more conversations of what's happening, because I am so sad seeing these stories over and over again of children being harmed on the internet, and it's due to, in some part, just lack of awareness of what's happening. You need to check all the apps that are installed on each device, okay? Every single app that is installed, you need to know what it is. In fact, there are some apps that are ghost apps, vault apps, that are designed to look like calculators or other utilities that hide content. If you go to checkthecellphone.com, I actually have a presentation that talks about ghost apps and vault apps and what to look for. But when I say go through every single app that you have on each device, not just your child, you too, because you too might also have really, really bad digital hygiene, okay? Please, I am telling you, I am begging you, I am asking to please be very intentional with this information. Also, I need you to check if your child has multiple accounts on social media. Some of them have a front-facing social media platform, and then some of them have what they call spam pages or finstas. And I'm telling you, there are cases that I have talked about, that I've highlighted over the years of doing Morning Tea and Allegations, where children have been compromised in situations because they are sharing passwords with people that they think are their friend that are not. And in one case in Florida, a child was locked up in jail for several weeks until they found out that the password was shared and it was someone else. Folks, I am telling you, please be very intentional. So there's a couple of things that I need to do to make these checklists easy for you, and I will have it publicly posted on my page and also on Teaching for the Cultures page, so that you can have access to it, so that you can share, because this is really, really important. I am sharing these videos and I'm sharing what's happening because it's a lot, and it's so much more, mind you. And I'm over time. It's over an hour of what I've allotted, but this is important. Okay, this is important. So I just want to uplift again that the Ghost Apps presentation is already on checkthecellphone.com, so that you could be very familiar with what that looks like. It is an app that looks just like a calculator. It functions and works just like a calculator. But once you enter that secret PIN code, you then get access to a vault to where you could save pictures and screenshots. It even has a browser to where you can go on the internet through the app, bypassing the main browser. So if you had things set up with their browser app, well, you don't have anything set up with the calculator app. You might not even know that they have that type of app installed. So again, folks, I am begging you to please take the opportunity as a family to have these conversations and go through each one of these apps and know exactly what is on your child's device. It's important. Please. Okay? It's important. So with that, I am going to close you because I'm over time. I thank you for being a part of this journey 4 seasons in. And when I talk about these digital streets, it is wild out here, folks. Buckle up, because there's so much that's going on. And when I tell you I'm a snitch in these streets, I've been said that, been doing that, and I hold myself accountable to mine. Don't let people go out here and misalign you. Don't go out here and let people steal your joy. You can say what you need to say, move forward, have joy, love, heal, and thrive. I just want to thank my Patreon members for the grace, as I did not prepare for all the things that have happened recently, for sure. But I'm going to continue to be unapologetic in my truth. I'm going to continue to advocate for our children, no matter where I am in the parts of the world. And I'll be right here, currently in South America, advocating for our kids, making sure that they are protected online, because that is my life's work and mission. So for my Patreon members, see me at the altar call because I got some things to talk about and also got some more podcasts that are launching soon. So I'm very, very grateful and thankful. And for the 14-day challenge, be on the lookout for that drop so that you can be very intentional with logging all of these different devices and knowing how to get access to what. Because I'm telling you, it's wild out here in these digital streets and getting even wilder. I am praying for the families that are dealing with the obstacles of life right now as life is lifing and people are peopling. And I'm sending you love, light, and peace. And I'll see y'all next week because we got so much to talk about, so much going on. And ultimately, our children deserve better. So I hope that y'all have a great weekend. Y'all take care. And until next time, peace.